Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to discuss the new topic, that is the input and output statement and flow control. So in this whole topics we will discuss one by one few of the topics. That is, the first is dynamic input from the keyboards, right? Control lines, arguments, output statement and conditional statement, iterative statement and transfer statement. So these are the some of the major topics which we are going to discuss this whole area, input and output statement and flow control. So let's discuss these topics one by one. So first is read the dynamic input from the keyboards. So first of all, Python 2 are actually having the different syntax and Python 3 having the different syntax, and both are not supporting each and every other. So first of all, if you want to take input from the user, you have to use the input keyboards, right? Input keywords. This will take a input from the keyboards, and whatever the parameter you are going to pass in the single quote or double quotes, that will become a message to the users. It will display the message that what you are asking about to enter. So suppose that if you want to take input from the user first number, you have to write whatever the message it will display here. And if you want to take the input from the user, so it will take as an input, and by default it will be always a string. Okay, if you're not going to convert into the other data types, let's suppose integer I'm going to convert, right? So that will going to convert and make it as an integer. But if I want to take the input from the user, let's suppose 10 even I have passed, and that will be become a string. If you see that this is the string data type, right? So either it is a strings, integer, anything, so whatever you pass as an keyboard argument, that will by default as an string. If you want to have the different data type, whatever you take from the input, that will have to make specifically convert as a typecasting, and now it will become a integer. So now it's become an integer, right? Now suppose that if you want to take the two numbers from the keyboards and print the sum, then you have to write the first line of the code, assign as an x, read the second line of code from the user and assign as a y. Now converting to the integer both of them, because by default it is a string, and then you can do the sum, right? This is become a sum, right? But suppose that we have to take the 10 input from the users, right? 10 inputs, 10 numbers we have to take as an input. In that case, you're not going to write the 10 number of lines, right, for the input again and again. So in that case, how it can possible to pass all the 10 values in the single line? So here is the answer. Suppose that you have to read the multiple values from the keyboard in a single line. In that case, you can use this split method, okay, and pass all the all the numbers, all the values comma separated. Okay, so whatever the values we are receiving from the users, that will by default as an strings, and we are going to split the input we have received based on the comma. And now whatever the data we are getting, either the two data, three data, comma separated, that will split different item, and those different items, right, different item we are going to iterate over the for loop, and whatever the values we are getting into the each and every iterations, we are converting to the integer and then assigning back to the variables a and b. Two values, then two variable we have to mention a and b. Three value if we are passing to, then three value you have to mention, and whatever the value we have got from the users in the one line, then we can multiply, divide, add, whatever you want. Okay, suppose that if I want to take the two values from the users, we can pass as a 7 and 9, and comma separated will be split, and based on the split it will split and assign a and b, and then it will be assigned and multiply as in 9 multiplied by 7, that is 63. Suppose I want to take the three values, right? Then three values, how we can take that? In that case we have to mention the three values each and every split. So in that case we have to receive the three values, three variable different variables. Now we have to multiply with the C also. If I'm going to run this piece of code, we have to pass the three values, 7, 1, 2, right? And now it will going to multiply with the 7, 1, 2, multiply by 14. Got it? In this case, we can have the multi-line of values in the single line, multiples value in the single line, right? Now, there is a one keywords is available in the Python, that is the evaluate. Suppose that you have passed any expression from the input from the any data, and you just want to do the calculations. Okay, so in that case, this is the strings, we cannot directly do that, we have to first of all convert into the integer and then we can do that. So rather than doing that, you can just do the evaluate basically do the all the calculation based on the operator present, and it will do the result, right? So suppose that if you have long calculations, right, so in that case, if you are going to run this piece of code, it will evaluate all the data based on the arithmetic operations, all the mathematical operation, then print the data. So this evaluate is basically evaluate all the expressions, right? Now, so whatever the arguments you are passing from the command line, right? So that is nothing but the argument, and that is stored that can be extract based on the system library. So from system there is a argument method is available. You can use this method and find out how many argument you have passed, you have get from the users, and all the arguments are based on the list data type. All the argument whatever you receive from the command line, that will be in the list data type, right? So suppose that write a program to display all the command line argument. Okay, so write the command line argument means you have to import the system library from the sys, you have to import the argument as a method, and whatever the length you have in the argument line, you can use that. You can just print the arguments, how many lines support each and every argument you want to print, so you can print it. Suppose as if I'm going to run this piece of code, then it will tell you how many arguments by default it having during the run up piece of code, right? So how many arguments are there? Three line of argument. What are the arguments are there? First is Python launcher, and then second is which are the JSON. These are the Databricks cloud systems where all the arguments are passing by default, correct? So these are the some of the input which this kind of command line argument will be work when you have the Windows uh, compiler like VS Code or PyCharm, like that, where you can use and display all the arguments. And these are the some of the examples where you can take the different type of input from the users. I hope you understand these solutions. Thank you so much.